Are men onto something when they say that they're held to double standard? That women want to break out of traditional gender roles, but want men to remain entrenched in theirs? Maybe. From 2005 to 2007, I was getting my master's in public health. It's a degree program and field that is traditionally one that skews towards female. My class was 80% female. A discussion as for why is a topic for another video. But a piece of it might be that the earning potential for someone with an MPH isn't nearly as high as some other graduate degrees. So I remember asking a female classmate if she would ever consider marrying a man who also had a master's in public health. And her answer kind of shocked me. She said, absolutely not. She went on to say that she planned to marry a lawyer or a doctor or a businessman, someone who made money. It was a moment of disorientation for me, a collision, we'll say, of progressive and traditional thought. Here was my classmate earning a graduate degree in the hopes that it would further her career, a career that aligned with her values of service and compassion. She wanted a profession that allowed her to contribute to the good of humankind. Like many women in the program, I knew her to be a fierce feminist, in theory, and quick to decry oppression in any form. But what became clear to me in her choice of potential mates was the double standard. She was breaking out of a traditionally female role by seeking an education and a profession. But if you peered deeper, that plan was premised on the idea that her husband would play a very traditional role of provider, implicitly bringing more income than she would, from her choice of a career that aligned with her values and dreams. What struck me as a man looking for potential mates whose values aligned with his own was that men like myself were stuck. We were struck from her consideration that allowed her to break out of her gender roles, but was reliant on men like me remaining in ours. So this left a big question about men. What about men? What are our options? Can some of us step out of these male-dominated fields into fields that are traditionally coded as feminine? This isn't a theoretical discussion. In the dialogue we're having about evolving gender norms and jobs in the 21st century, jobs that won't be replaced by automation or AI, there has been this emphasis on heal jobs, health, education, and literacy, or sometimes shape jobs, social sciences, humanity, arts for people in the economy. I'm aware once again of the mixed messaging we're giving young men and women. On the one hand, we're celebrating women breaking out of traditional gender roles and getting into the workplace. That's a win. While we're also telling young men that they need to adjust to these changes and get with the program and evolve. Some of these same women are telling them that they need to remain sole providers in what can be soul-crushing, competitive, professional environments that are coded as male. Maybe some men find these environments as soul-crushing and distasteful as some of these women would find being a housewife. I did. And yet there are male influencers who say, yes, providing through material means is still the number one way to be a man and to attract mates. And we hear women saying that they want men to be more in touch with their feelings. They want men to do more household chores, more childcare. But that can be near impossible if you're also trying to make partner in a law firm. Sometimes I don't think my female counterparts really recognize the catch-22 that they're putting men in. As they see it, look at me, I'm female, I'm pursuing my job in a heal field, a nonprofit that gives meaningful purpose, and of course, my husband will want to continue work in a male-dominated competitive field as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a businessman, because those are jobs coded with patriarchy, and patriarchy provides all these benefits because you're at the top of the social structure. Do you start to see the problem with this? It's female liberation that carves out its existence without really interrogating or dismantling some of the structures of patriarchy. It also ignores the harms that impossible, toxic masculinity does to men. This is not a gotcha moment. I know I'm talking about nonprofits, and women can go into some of these male-coded fields as well. I have a lot of admiration for the ambitious women that were in my cohort and my MPH program. It's just my goal to point out that these things are complicated. And the choices for men, the messaging that men are sent, it's not always clear. The scenario my female friend was envisioning was one where only half the work was left done. It was liberation for one half of the heteronormative pairing, and I'm omitting the whole conversation about growing options introduced by evolving gender categories and same-sex pairings simply because I didn't feel qualified to speak about them as a heterosexual cisgendered guy. But that version left undone the work of reform for the other side of the equation. It didn't consider the options for men. And if we don't consider the options for men, the new options for men, the project's doomed. So in the meantime, listen to others, be kind, and if you like what I have to say, check out my books at tedneilauthor.com or wherever books are sold online.